Good afternoon.
Hi.
We'd like to welcome you all to Afternoons of African American Awareness. My name is Eureka Williams, and I'm an associate professor here at the Metro campus and also a co-advisor of the African American Student Association. We are so pleased that you all are joining us for our last session this year for Black History Month. To introduce today's dynamic speaker, we have the president of our ASA chapter, Mr. Lawrence King.
I ain't gonna lie, you guys are gonna have to work with me a little bit. It's very small on the phone, so. In elementary school, I was held back a grade. I had behavioral issues, and the school even wanted to put me in regimental classes at 14. I could not read, my handwriting was unreadable, and I could not spell. I was also locked up in juvenile hall. I spent more than 3 years incarcerated before getting outright before my 18th birthday. I played sports and loved it, and I also knew that it was a pipe dream. So I had to switch my focus, and I did it at around 15 years old. I wanted to become a writer. I grew up in a small city of Pittsburgh, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area, raised by my mother alongside my 12 siblings. We always struggled to make ends meet, but my mom always managed to keep a roof over our heads. I never had any position or positive role model growing up, and I always found myself being a part of the wrong crowd. I was first arrested at the age of 10. I started getting locked up around 13 years old. Spending most of my teens inside juvenile hall, that is where I discovered my love for storytelling, which eventually became something like a savior to me. Although writing saved my life, it is still a struggle for me. Having been diagnosed with dyslexia while incarcerated, however, I did not allow obstacles to stop me from reaching my goals. My goal was to become a filmmaker. I wanted to write, direct, and produce my own films. Furthermore, while my heart was on becoming a writer, the battle has just begun. My home life was filled with abuse and survival. Everyone around me had a feastable attitude. My mom and her ex-husband, including my dad, were all beaters. Any dream that we have had as a child was crushed out of us. We were told we were worthless. I tried to shrink, not be seen around my family, and rather less my anger of the streets where I was not at home. I started to think negatively of myself, to believe all thoughts that crossed my mind. I turned to crime. I felt like the world owed me everything. I owed the world nothing. The things led me to spend most of my life incarcerated. While incarcerated, writing became the way I expressed myself, the way I was able to examine my thoughts and rewrite my mind. I started to write myself better, which made me better. I was incarcerated alone for over 15 years. However, most of the time I spent writing my thoughts, learning myself, and growing. Within a year of being released from incarceration, I landed jobs working on 2 documentaries, Harry and Snowman and Molly, which played in the theaters. I shot and edited commercials and developed social media campaigns around social justice issues under some great mentors like Academy Award nominee editor Matthew Cook. In addition to these experiences, I entered as a post-production assistant on the HBO hit show Silicon Valley. Right now, I am a broadcasting major at TCC. Over the years, I have completed several personal projects that include producing promotional videos for small businesses, writing feature films, and developing a nonprofit to teach film and other skills to formerly incarcerated juveniles. I hope to take my passion for filmmaking and for giving back to the community and give opportunities to people with some of the same disadvantages I started with. I want to pass the same type of opportunities I'm blessed with onto others at risk youth and formerly incarcerated, so that the help I was extended transcends to others, and a positive impact can continue to be made. I don't know. My real Mike. That sound works. Yeah. Hey. How you doing? Did they get the sound? Drinking just flow by the wayside. How you listen to they sleep by the bayside. Young waters were not afraid to test away. Tsunamis, hurricanes. We lived through the slave trade. We prayed on these songs, transition through glory days. Post-trauma trigger into better days. So please, Lord, show us another way. They say that Black Wall Street comes in many ways. And more money comes in Jesus' way. Whether it's game or clean there's limited opportunity here, but OKC. Don't get blindsided at all. Identity. That's what how should been. Culture identity. Represents community. That's wine and dine and toast to the utopia. Look what we can do.
new slang, new with some change. Break it down, we throw our ashes. Just a five for advantage. But we ain't gonna put us advantage. I'm trying to get on a team. Stagnated by the circumstances. We ain't know about the trouble. $1 billion cities on the road. 100 years out the finish struggle. We know what happened on the side. Need to take my team.
Got it? Okay. You don't need a clicker for a
They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. Until I had to just move. We got money out so crazy. You can do whatever you want. You know we gonna take it back low. You're cold, so don't keep down. You make some big rocks. And I'm back with it like a stand or something. Anything to think for the answers. When I see it already is a standard. Y'all never get abandoned. The revelation that's the definition. Man, it's in the place. And if it's going one of that, oh, we'll take it. What do you know what I'm saying? Born in the land of the free, the confidence full of my veins. I thought it, I promised it, property, much of my children. They will remember my name. They need the death of my father at home. I keep it the chain. This is the rags to riches. Schools of the wall. It's time to get some money. I told them more money for problems. I told them more money for options. I told them like we hold. I told them like we dominate. Like a thing to get the bottom of the ashes and make it rush. You know, it's flawed. But if you do it after they answer, this is making excuses for law. And I think of it. Call. For value for all of the kids, the future is black as the soul of a cliff. My mother ain't working with designer drill. I'm not gonna play it. Stick to the script and the shop on the camera for all these kids. Down on the back, I'm going to get on our arms. I grab with it down on the kids. We got money out super green. I don't know how you can do whatever you want, but you know we're gonna take it back low. Flip home, so don't keep down. Just make a big rock, just keep blowing. Hey, I'm back with it like a stand. It's all for anything to think for the answer.
How you guys doing today? My name is Morel Miner. As he was explaining a little piece I wrote for class over here. It's a really personal piece. I really don't usually share too much about myself, but you know, I decided to do that. Glad I did. The video we just watched here, that was a music video I produced about, you know, Black wealth and Black townships. A little to kind of like a little more about my past. I'm from Pittsburgh, California. It's a small little city inside the Bay Area. I just grew up on that wrong side of the tracks, and found myself getting in and out of trouble. Started getting arrested at a young age. When I was like 13, 14, I got locked up. And I knew when I know I wanted to make a difference in my life without facing a long time. And I didn't know how to go about doing that. So naturally what you do is you turn to like television and film. You know, I turned to the Bible, television and film. And got some great stuff from the Bible, from television, how African Americans were portrayed, definitely African Americans from that wrong side of the track was always in a negative kind of light. The moment they wanted to add us to a film or something was to portray either poverty or negativity. And we was always like the side characters that were used to kind of like push forward. And I knew I wanted to make kind of like a difference in that space, but again, I had to start from, you know, not even being able to, it was always a struggle for me to read and write throughout school. But I wasn't going to kind of let those kind of things stop me. Fast forward to now, I'm an award-winning producer, award-winning screenwriter. I just won my last screenwriting contest last year. I went in like 10,000 for a short film. I produced multiple films. I've been to theater. And then through my nonprofits, we train, you know, hundreds of people, African American and disadvantaged people, to get inside the film industry. The last major film we did that most people know is American Skin, where we staff and help run that whole film production. We got a few more that's coming out. The reason what brought me to Oklahoma is where I'm from. The Black Wall Street was kind of like a big thing. There was a record label called Black Wall Street. A lot of people don't know that was what the gang was signed to before you went back to LA. It was signed to Black Wall Street. So it was always this independent mindset that we kind of adopted. And when I was working in Atlanta, and I came out here to visit some family and kind of do like a pilgrimage to Black Wall Street. It was very different from what I thought it was going to be. And I knew I wanted to kind of like tell a story about that, but I didn't want to tell nothing about no tragedy. And I knew of Black towns, but not a lot. So that's when I began to research on Black towns and how they help support Black Wall Street and those kinds of things. I kept on flying back and forth in and out of here. And as I learned more, I felt like it was not okay to try to tell a story about a place that wasn't going to benefit from the story that you were telling. So I was like, Atlanta is this hot film market, and LA is obviously the capital of film in the world. But Oklahoma had a bubbling kind of, they had a new tax incentive and all this other kind of stuff. So I was like, hey, I want to see if I can make a difference out here. So that's when I kind of like started to move my nonprofit out here. And we have a quick little clip of the nonprofit. It's a video. I just want you to watch it real quick. It's the Bromont short one. Like y'all.
As a juvenile, I'm out the streets, hung with the wrong crowd, I guess. I had no crowd to hang with. One bad stories after another. County and juvenile, fighting my cases and dope.
When I was 15, I got locked up with my mom. There was a lot of uncertainty going through my life. I didn't know if I was going to ever come home. I didn't know if I was ever going to see my mom again. I didn't know if I was ever going to be free again.
One sentence, kind of like created a cycle. It kind of institutionalized me into like a way of thinking. I was in Austria, as I did about almost 12 years.
Every community is depicted inside the film industry, but not every community has a voice inside the representation. We're trying to give them that voice. Our goal and our mission is to provide systematic youth and the young adults an outlet, a creative outlet inside the film industry.
The purpose of the Bromont Fellowship is to give formerly incarcerated people the opportunity to make use of resources that are normally outside of their access. I think that the single thing that was most helpful to me in becoming an actor and a writer is a community. I think this program could really be an example of a community like that, where everyone's helping each other out, where everybody's sharing the experience together, and where you have access to people who have wisdom and who are thrilled to be helping new voices.
It's empowering knowing that your voice matters and that your voice can have an impact on the world around you. And through film, that's like the easiest way to get voices out there. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Felix Miranda.
And Taylor Nichols Walk.
This is my story.
So that's a little bit about the nonprofit. Started in LA, and now we are opening up a facility out here in Tulsa and Taft, respectively. And when we're focusing on coming out here and trying to make a difference, we're focusing on African American community, particularly, and also helping preserve the Black town. So we want to look for spaces to open up. What we want to do, open up a training facility and a fully functional soundstage, a studio, where we gave people opportunities to make films that usually didn't have access to like high quality equipment, high quality marketing and distribution avenues. We want to provide those for communities that really didn't have those opportunities. And we chose the town of Taft for many reasons. Had a lot of great stories that need to be shared, with the rest of the world, not even just America. They had 2 prisons, a male and a female, a male prison and a female facility. And so we went out there, got some land, started to build a soundstage, and we're in the process of having the first African American soundstage in the whole state of Oklahoma. One of the few sound stages for African Americans in the country. Usually people just think of Tyler Perry. There's a lot of stuff that calls themselves studios. Harrison Light calls up a studio, a recording studio. What makes a studio like Warner Brothers or Sony or Disney or the sound stages. So it's the place where you can dedicated space to film whenever you want to. So that's kind of what we're in the process of wrapping up this year inside Taft. I have a kind of like a picture of the sound stage for people that kind of never seen sound stage before. So these are where the magic of the movies made at. So this is kind of what it's going to look like when it's done inside Taft. Probably one of the main things I wanted to share today, definitely what I'd like to share with speaking to African American community is owning your own story. How I started off, I was written off at a young age, very poor. My mom had a lot of kids, grew up in an abusive environment, all the disability disadvantages. So people naturally, I should have been a statistic. But what writing helped me do was that was the first time I ever got to write myself a different story. So I started to write situations that I've never been in. I want to do this. I want to do this. I just kept on writing. I didn't know how to change my life, but I just kept on. I became the hero or the main character of my own story. And I stopped saying what did the world expect me to do, but what would I do if I was the main character of my own story? Like, I'll make this phone call. I would go out there and try this stuff. So when I was 18, the first time I was facing life in prison, I got out when I was 17 and got locked back up for shooting involving I just got out and got back into my, when you get locked up, the streets don't stop. It just keep on going. So as soon as I got out, it was still going. So really quickly, I was trying to start my little film career that I ended up facing life. Ended up getting sentenced to prison when I was 18, and then altogether I ended up doing almost 12 years in prison. And the whole time I was down, I was still, writing myself to happiness, really trying to make change. I got me a cell phone inside, which you don't supposed to have. But I was like, if I was a famous writer, who would I call? who would I talk to? And I started to call these people randomly and just build a community. And I'm from Northern California. And even if you live in LA, Hollywood and LA is two different things. Like that's not close. But I live 6-7 hours away. In other places, that's a couple of states away from Hollywood. But I kept on writing. I kept on reaching out to people. And eventually, I ran across the producer of the Hangover film. He actually went inside juvenile hall in LA, and he wanted to make a difference. And one of my mentors, one of my writing mentors introduced me to him. So they flew me out to LA, and I was like, hey, I'll pick up trash. I'll do it, whatever I can. So for my first 2 years, when I got out, that's what I was doing. I was picking up trash on the side of the road. It was like a job that they give you inside, like when you're about to go home. And then when you get out, they continue to let you to pick up trash on the side of the freeway. I was just picking up trash on the freeway, and I was like, man, I can pick up trash for anybody. Why can't I pick up trash for Sony Studio? Why can't I pick up trash for these executives? I can, and I'll do it for free. I was like, if you let me come in here, I'll do all that for free, which led to my first internship. And after 2 weeks of being an intern, the dude was like, you work so hard, I'll hire you. And he was like, okay, how are you getting to work? It used to take me 2 hours to get to work on a bus. And he was like, I'm going to give you a little advance so you can buy you a little small car. So I got my little car, and I was working there. Got to work with some great films. Started going to school for editing. Became a certified editor. Got to start mentoring under editors, and I was doing it all for free. I was just like, hey, can I work under you? Can I do it for free? And I started getting blessed with these opportunities. And immediately I knew that there were other people that were just like me, because I knew I wasn't special, but they just needed opportunity. So I would just ask my boss, hey, can I bring other formerly incarcerated individuals into the office and give them a tour, let them sit on a computer. And that's kind of like the seeds of the nonprofit started. We didn't really get no notoriety until we shot our first little short film, and it just started doing good on a little short film market. And that's when the newspapers and the news and other people's celebrities started to kind of help us out with that. And we were doing that all the way up until the pandemic. We ended up opening our own facility. And then after the pandemic, during the pandemic, it was time to slow down and realize that I definitely want to make impact on more of my community. So that again led to being out here. So yeah, that was kind of what I was doing. I wanted to show you guys another clip, and then we can talk about writing your own narrative. So it's one called Hire. This is one of the short first music videos we shot when we became a nonprofit. This is shot by a formerly incarcerated individual, shot and acted. So the older gentlemen, they lifers, the younger kids, they juvenile hall. The reason why I like to show that is there's like a small part in there that is very important about owning your own narrative. A lot of times when you see the three Hispanic kids and the one kid changes life, it's usually the other two characters, they fall off. Like they were put there to be like the temptation, and then it's gone. But like as we were sitting down trying to make this film, nobody wanted to be the enemy. So it was like, as you know, a lot of times when you give your story to somebody else, they'll be like, you're the bad kids and you're done. But if you make your own film, we got to decide that all three of them are going to change their life. So in there's no bad influence in there, because nobody really looks at themselves as the villain. But then everybody can identify with those stories. That's what's the key of being able to own your own story and tell your own stories, that you get add a more authentic voice to it when you're portraying these kind of things. And it was powerful that when we were sitting there talking about it, the main Hispanic character, he was young, but fresh out of juvenile hall, lost one of his best friends, but he was drinking a lot. So now he's drinking a lot, and now we're talking about the point of not drinking. So this was kind of like a catalyst for him to step on the path of life. And it's okay to be sober. It's okay to I'm going to start going to the meeting. So it's not just that national impact you're trying to make, but making a film, you can have like that individual impact on people's lives. And that's one of the things we try to do out here now, is make an individual impact on people's lives. Like, if you look at yourself as the hero of your own story, it only takes one person to make change. And it don't matter what position you're coming from. Because there's been a person from every walk of life, from every position, has made a difference in story. And definitely these stories that are inspired by true life, people don't see that as themselves. I was probably like one of the one switch that I was like, no, I am that character. Like if they made a movie about me, what would they say? And then start making decisions based on that. So that's kind of like what we do in a nonprofit. So it's like, there's a great book, Joseph Campbell, Hero with 1,000 Faces. But if you haven't checked that out, check that out. But it's something called The Hero's Journey. It's what Star Wars is based off of. Jason Cameron and George Lucas are really close friends. And The Hero is like this common story of it's everybody's personal hero's journey. So check that out. It really helped me to when you look at it, you can always find a diagram of the hero journey. Then ask yourself, where are you in that journey? So what do I need to do to get to the next step? So I should have had a diagram of that. But there's one more video. So out right now here, we are doing, so this is like my call to action to everybody in this room that, I'm trying to make a difference, and I hope everybody else here is trying to make a difference. And I make videos, and that's the way I support people. So I always bring out my equipment for free. All people have to do is pay for insurance. I have a lot of equipment. I do training on that kind of stuff. And videos can support people in many kind of ways. Business, I don't care if you're a barber, you need a little promotional video marketing, but also we have to help each other out as a community. Because again, I want to be part of a great story. Like I want to be, when they tell your story, I want to have like a little part in that story and say, yeah, I made that video, or yeah, I did that, you know what I mean? So this is something that we shot out here. And this was just a lot of people from the community.
Touch the sky when you ain't got shit on your knees. 'Cause I'm on top of the world. I'm on top of the world. Yes. around the Everest and got shit on me.
You can clap. Actually, that was shot. Everything that we shot that with, I own all that equipment. I always put it out there to the community. I'm here to help. I'm here to build stories. So that's an opportunity. Believe that you deserve it. Believe that you deserve help. That you deserve the best. Like I said, we're doing a lot of stuff with the community out in Tab, the community in North Tulsa, West Tulsa. We also have another facility that we we're renovating the building right now in West Tulsa, and then we also have the other building another smaller building in Tab. That's the community center that we're so yeah, man. If you want any help or you need anything, just let me know. I'm gonna leave time for questions. Thank you for having me.
We all know the saying that you're a product of your environment. Right? So with that being said, how hard was it for you to look in the mirror and say, I will not be a product of my environment?
Extremely hard because you are a product of your environment. Before you even know it, you're a product of your household first. And I grew up in a very volatile household. Mom alcoholic, siblings on drugs. Their sisters have boyfriends and a whole bunch of abuse, physical abuse, all kinds of physical abuse, mental abuse. And so I was a product of that first. And so there wasn't really a lot of encouragement coming out of my household. And so you just take that to the streets and then you realize that a lot of people around you have the same kind of defeatist attitude that you have. So now it's a pot of defeatist attitude from all walks of life, people not being able to get jobs, people just these collateral consequences of being African American. So I feel like I still am a product of my environment. I don't think that it's like a thing, but I realized what we truly are. I always use these stories in history, definitely out here. There's so many great people. There's no different from me, O.G. Gurley. None of these people from Black Wall Street. None of these people from all these black towns that founded these towns. I don't look at myself different. And I always think back to the time of there was a lot of struggle going on back then, and the things that they did and the path that they laid for me made it way easier for me to be able to get a job and opportunity. So that's what I'm built on. So I'm also a product of that environment too. But it was extremely hard. I did not know how to change my life. I just read the Bible and wrote. But when I started, people just called me a criminal. I was locked up. You're a criminal with this. And as I kept on writing, the Bible tells you what a man's supposed to be. And then through writing helps you become somebody else. So I stopped identifying as a criminal. And when people say a writer, I look up now. Like I'm just in my, writing saved me a few times, like mentally and physically. Like I'm going to stay in my cell today and write. But it was, I could have gotten in a car crash if I went to the yard that day. But also, when somebody said man or father or something, I started to identify with these words as I studied and started adopting those characteristics. So it was like super hard though.
This is like a follow-up based on what you just said. I heard identity was the key to your destiny at this point. So when you were coming up, I know, like, for myself, I said, I'm not going to be like my parents, but you don't know the decisions that they had to make that put those, that made them make those decisions, or the environment that they were actually experiencing that made them make those decisions. So for you, did you have like that state of mind, like, I'm not going to be like them? Or was it just like I'm just gonna embrace this, and then like the shift happened for you, like.
It was definitely, I'm not going to be like that. I just seen my father for the first time probably like 2 months ago after like 22 years. And what gave me, wasn't going to be like my mother or my father, but I feel like the world owed me something when I was younger, but writing it for me was taught me empathy. So I started to write about like my life, but then you have to write about, like, if I want to write about my father, I have to start writing about, like, oh, my father did this, and he did this, and this, and this. So it really taught me empathy I was able to empathize for a person through that way. And the same way with my victims. Of, like, I was out there robbing people, taking stuff from people because I felt the world owed me something. And when I started writing stories about robbery, I have to write about the person coming home from work, just trying to provide for his kids. He's going through his stuff in his life. So it really taught me, like, emphasize that I can't just take stuff from people because life didn't deal me a good hand. But writing helped me forgive them, though. I still don't, I don't want to be like them, but it helped me forgive them. And then I do have to say, oh, there's a part of my father inside of me. I haven't been around my father 20-some years. And he'd be like, man, I still do that. Like, I don't even, you know what I mean? So it's like, you can't deny it. You gotta just embrace who you are in all aspects of it.
So I also believe in the power of storytelling, and I think that stories matter. Well-represented stories matter more, but the stories that you tell yourself matter most. Yeah. What stories are you telling yourself currently? You've spoken to stories you're telling yourself while you were in jail and a little bit after. So what stories are you really telling yourself?
Probably that I'm the best writer, producer, director in the world. I started telling myself that in prison too, though. But that's what my definite chief aim. I don't know if anybody ever read like Napoleon Hill, but he has a definite chief aim, and I want to be the best writer, producer in the world. But I'm going to own the most successful film studio in Oklahoma, in the Midwest. I'm lying, I said Midwest. Most successful film studio in the Midwest, and I'm a great father. Great person. Any questions?
So consider would you describe your art form as a type of memoir?
No, I'm gonna say that for somebody else, because a lot of times for African Americans, it's so important that we do the work. We don't get the time to even celebrate or write about it. So I'm never gonna write like my story. I'm gonna leave that for somebody else to do that. But I feel like other African Americans in this community, like Wall Street and Taft and all these other black towns, left stories for me to tell. Like, they did the work. Now it's my job to tell the stories. So I'm like living the memoir kind of thing, as you're saying. Like, I'm the hero of the story. This is my journey, but it's not meant for me to write it. I'm just keep on living.
What's your story production process?
I'm one of those people that are very detail-oriented, so I do a lot of research. I write a lot of outlines, a lot of notes. I have to create like a skeleton of my stories first, and then I start adding the meat onto it, and then writing is rewriting. So once I get the story done, I go over and over and over again. I like to read it out loud. I feel like when I won a handful of screenwriting contests and short film contests. The process of when I first finished a project for the first draft, a lot of people are done. Like, okay, they're going to tweak it a little bit. For me, that's when it just starts. I got to process the dialogue, pop story so much it becomes unrecognizable from that first draft. And that's kind of what, like, I would shoot the same thing 100 times. When we shot back around here, we shoot the night scene. We budgeted for a day, shot it 3 times. Each time I would be like, let's do it again. it was in a repetition of like practice. You know, each time I got better and better and better. So when people see it, it looked like we spent a whole bunch of money on that. It did. We just from practice. Other students.
Well, you mentioned reading the Bible. At what point did you, was evidently in your childhood and all that, there was no real connection with? When did you connect and you knew that there was a power that was working in you and for you?
Probably like at 15. When I was like 15 years old. And it started the typical way of like rob the pawn shop. And I was like, please, Lord, if you get me out of this, I'll never do another crime again in my life. I was lying. But at the time I believed it, you know what I mean? So I just was trying to like dive deep and like, is there something behind this? Like, am I praying just because of circumstances? You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, so I started to seek something different. And it's a great story. It also follows the hero's journey and the hero's death. It all follows the same kind of thing, but it was like I really was able to connect with the story inside the Bible.
So I was going to ask, do you have an age limit for the people that you mentor? Also, is there a process for like people to get involved in your nonprofit? That kind of information, is that information available to us at the end of this?
We have a website. We are up to date in it. You can go look at it right now, but it speaks a lot about stuff that we do in LA, not about everything that we're getting started out here. For people that are incarcerated, formerly incarcerated, the age is younger. But if you're not incarcerated to be incarcerated, like a set rating and stuff like that, it is 18 and over, 18 to whatever. But if you are in juvenile hall, you can start taking our writing programs that you come home at whatever age you're. If they can lock you up, you can be part of it. I'm working on that. I've been to a few facilities in Kansas City. The facility that's like an hour away from here, the prison. I forgot what it's called. It's about an hour away from here. North.
East or west?
North. Yeah. So I was going in there a few times to Magic Freedom. I don't know if you guys heard of Magic Freedom. So I was going there through them. I'm working on getting inside starting an actual training program inside that prison and the 2 prisons in Taft. That's really one of my main goals is to get inside prisons and start teaching classes. Yeah. Number 1 in the world, actually. In the world. They're number 1.
So right now, it's just pretty much for the previously incarcerated, but you do have like a ring for others that are just interested in a producer or
different disadvantaged communities. Yeah, so we provide set training for people that want to get an entry-level job into the film industry. Right now, the film industry out here is kicking up a lot, and a lot of times disadvantaged communities are not represented properly inside those in that industry, and training costs a lot of money. Or like there'll be like a program that do training, but then they only allow like the scholarship like one person in. But everybody that comes to our program, they all scholarship in. We're just trying to call a large number of capable people, and then we do help them with like job retention. We go out there and find the jobs for them, and then we kind of are the bridge on their first little job. So a lot of stuff. I have a lot of credits on IMDb and stuff with my name, but I'm the social impact. So that's what I, coordinator. So I like go on set and make sure everything all right and give them on set training and stuff like that.
how it really is, you know what I mean? Because I feel like characters, they always think it's right.
Yeah. I hear you said there's no white people in the Bible. Got it.
Everyone, let's give Morel a round of applause. We can't offer much, but we do have a little token of appreciation, especially for his time. Now, this is a current TCC student. Showing what he's doing. And even though our series ends today, we know that the work doesn't. So we appreciate everyone supporting here. And you all know that I couldn't do this without the help of my village, Dr. Dickens over here, who's always got my back. And who slipped out already. And then there's so many of you in here. And I can't forget our president, Lawrence King. He's always ready. Thank you so much for coming out and supporting us today, and have a good rest of the day. Y'all take care. Thank you so much.